Yo, what's up, guys? So my computer did not pick up my microphone audio, so the audio isn't going to be the greatest because I'm using the camera audio for this review. All right, let me just say that this will not be a spoiler-free review. There will absolutely and purposely be spoilers. I personally have found that spoiler-free reviews, they're kind of pointless. I've tried it. The insight that people expect from me is that from a comic book standpoint, a geek standpoint, and I feel as if I'm wasting your time if I can't at least dissect what the hell is going on. So again, there will absolutely be spoilers. Hell, I'm going to summarize the whole damn movie for those that aren't interested in seeing this or don't care about the spoilers. So this is what happens. The movie starts with Hawkeye with his family and they randomly disappear, which is obvious that this is the time when Thanos did his little infamous snap. Also, remember at the end of Infinity War, Stark is basically just floating around in space, about to run low on oxygen, and Nebula is also on the ship with him. She's alien and part machine, so she's not going to have those breathing problems. Before he's about to die, Carol Danvers does show up out of nowhere and carries the damn whole ship back to Earth. With all the heroes together, they come up with this plan. They're going to confront Thanos, who is chilling at the garden, but he's at a very weak state. When they get there, he reveals that he used the gauntlet to eliminate the gems and it almost killed him. This means that there's no way to even bring everybody back. Thor then goes and chops his head off, so Thanos is now dead. Anyway, 5 years pass and the heroes are split up all around. They're adopting their new lives with half of the universe, of course, gone. Bruce is basically, he's become one with the Hulk. Thor is fat and chubby, drinking himself away at New Asgard. Iron Man has started a family. Nebula and Rocket Raccoon, they're traveling around in space. And Carol Danvers is helping other planets and so forth. Everybody is up to something. But Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, does show up. Remember, he was trapped in the quantum zone because Hank and the others disappeared due to the snap. He does eventually get out, but of course it's 5 years later. He goes around to see that there's this like memorial site and he sees his name on there. So people think that, you know, he was one that got dusted. He goes to find that his daughter's grown up and then he heads to the Avengers mansion. This is where he learns about Thanos from Black Widow and Captain America. Now Scott Lang does come up with this idea to use the said quantum zone that he was in to go back in time to correct all of this. They go to pitch this idea to Iron Man and he says that he wants no part of this. However, he's low-key working on it and he does solve this puzzle, which will allow them to time travel to specific points. The heroes then decide that they will all go to different places and gather all of these stones and then come back, of course. This is where things get funky. Just know that they are going back to scenes they were all in, such as like New York in 2013, so they can see their old selves. Cap ends up even fighting his old self. Here's the important thing to really take from this. The past version of Nebula can see the thoughts of the one from the future. This is the past when like Nebula followed Thanos as well as Gamora. Because of this, past Thanos knows now what happens when he gets the gems as well as where they are. So the past Nebula goes and disguises herself as the future Nebula to basically infiltrate. Meanwhile, Ant-Man and Iron Man fail to bring in the Tesseract, so they go to the 70s where they can not only get the Tesseract from Howard Stark, but they can also get some of that juice from Hank Pym to really travel back and forth. Also, remember, to get the Soul Gem, you have to sacrifice something that you love. And Black Widow, after this brief skirmish with Hawkeye, does end up killing herself, sacrificing herself. So they do go back to 5 years in the future where Hulk uses the gauntlet with all the gems on it. As he's the one strong enough to wield it, he snaps and brings everybody back, but basically fries his arm in the process. Also, Sleeper Nebula used the portal to bring Thanos' army, so the past Thanos, into the future. Nebula kills Nebula, but she did end up convincing Gamora to turn good because she knows what happens if Thanos is successful. But now that Thanos has seen what happens, his goal is no longer to wipe half the universe, but to basically eliminate it and start from scratch. So now all of the heroes come back by way of Doctor Strange, and there's this big fight which ends up with Iron Man having the gauntlet with the gems, using it and killing himself in the process. he used it to kill Thanos and his army. We end the movie with Captain America going back in time to, you know, put stones wherever they were, but it did end up allowing himself to grow old and die. In the process, he went back, he danced with, you know, Peggy, he had a full life. So he's shown old as hell and basically passing the torch of Captain America to Sam Wilson, aka Falcon, and that really ends the movie. I flew through that, probably missed some things, may got a couple of points wrong. That's not important. Here's my analysis. Remember that I have to break this up in tiers. If you're a normie, you are going to love this movie and probably give it an A+. It had a great amount of comedy, drama, suspense, and at the end, of course, all of that action, and this was a great way to really sum this chapter up. One way or another, either present, past, future, just about everybody that had a legitimate role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe since the beginning showed up at some point. And the guy to end it was the guy who started it all. Of course, he sacrificed himself, and that's Iron Man. So normies who don't read comics at all, they're just fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I'd have to recommend this movie. But let's get to the good stuff. You all want me to give my unfiltered thoughts from a comic book nerd's perspective, my perspective. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, actually, even understanding the source material and having those expectations. In all honesty, I think they did a decent job of showing some love to the comics in slight ways, considering what they had to work with and given what already had happened when they did drop the ball with some other events. For example, the whole garden scene where Thanos is sort of chilling out is a nod to what happened after Warlock had taken the gauntlet at the end of the original Infinity Gauntlet arc in the comics, which I covered on this channel. Even with the Scarecrow version of Thanos being there, they also showed some love to Scarlet Witch, finally, because at the end, she messed around and almost beat Thanos, and he had to call the ship to start launching rockets willy-nilly. She is a very powerful character that can alter reality, and she's been nerfed in this universe. But with some of the events and the depictions of the characters, they are at least nods to some of the source material. But that's it. Just nods. I believe it toes the line of what I've been saying from the get-go. You do not have to tell the exact same story, but at least respect the legacy. Screaming it's a different universe is only what normies say because they hate to see people like me critical of a movie that they liked, but they don't possess the knowledge base to even argue the points because they don't read the comics. They had no connection to that source material. Everything that they know about the comics is something that they Googled 2 minutes ago. But the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not some big like what if scenario, which is a headliner of Marvel Comics. Remember, it's more of adaptations and different stories being told based on classic characters and depictions of those characters. So comic book fans won't gripe as long as the character is at least respected. It's not about telling the same exact story. Hell, y'all fools don't even read the comics anyway. So if it was the same exact story being told, you'd be appeased anyway, because it'd be new to you. But with that being said, there are some things that I did not like. Let's start with the obvious: tokenized Marvel, aka knockoff Captain Marvel, aka Carol Danvers. This is probably where the bots will thumb down this video or start going ape in the comments. I don't care. I got your monetized view already, and you being mad won't change it. The Captain Marvel shoehorn is still in full effect, man. Remember when I did my other videos on this subject and the Captain Marvel bot said that I needed to chill out, that I was stupid, and they were really just setting up Carol to be this arrogant asshat, and that Thanos was going to kick her ass at the beginning of the film. She was going to go in all confident. Wrong, no such thing happened. She zoomed in and put his ass in a chokehold, and it wasn't anything that he could do about it. At least Thor was the one that offed them, but it still wasn't nothing that Thanos could do to her at that state. The positive is that she's not in the movie that much. She's ended at the beginning and ended at the end. The negative is that when she's there, it's not good. There's still the lazy explanation of her whereabouts for 20 plus years. She just goes off to other planets helping people, and she of course is one that saved Iron Man from space. They didn't do the best job of explaining that either. The scene at the end of the Captain Marvel movie where she shows up saying, "Where's Fury?" never happened unless it happened when I went to take a piss for 30 seconds. I'm guessing they are just alluding to that taking place, and they told her where Iron Man was in space, even though they didn't really know. But she was able to locate his ass in the middle of nowhere and brought him back carrying the whole damn ship in the process. So as it appears, it just looks like her ass just was taking a stroll and just so happened to be at the right place at the right time to save him. Talk about a shoehorn. And at the end, of course, she happens to show up right on time again. And out of nowhere, everybody's fighting and the tide seems to tip in Thanos' favor until she just shows up and fucking blows Thanos' whole ship up. Remind you, she wasn't even present during any of the build-up, but it was better if they just left her all the way out. It's just another shoehorn, which is representative of her placement in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She's also so overpowered at one point that she starts taking these punches point blank when she's trying to, she's not even moving. She's trying to grab the gauntlet off of Thanos' hand before he goes and snaps or something again. The only reason she got punched out was because Thanos took the power gem off of the gauntlet and punched her ass out. So without the gauntlet, she was faring better than really all of the other heroes, which is just criminal. She shouldn't be stronger than Thor or anything like that, or Hulk or anybody, or hell, not even Scarlet Witch. There's also the scene where she gets the gauntlet from Spider-Man to transport, and literally all of the female characters just show up, and they say she's not alone. I'm like, could you be any more obvious? It just so happens that all of the prominent female characters, they make this big scene, are there right then and there. Just give me a break, bro. The other thing I didn't like was how they did the Mjolnir. They really was tossing that damn thing around like it was a hot potato, with eventually Captain America having it in the last fight. Yes, inexplicably, Cap becomes the one worthy enough to control it, so it's basically Captain Thor. There was a scene where they traded that in the Stormbreaker, so Cap was able to wield both of them like it was nothing. I know some of you aren't going to like how they did Thor in this movie. He's been nerfed along with Hulk, who didn't really do anything Hulk-like in his state, aside from just survive the usage of the gauntlet. Throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe, things like this tend to be my gripe, right? It's when they nerf like big characters, prominent characters, just for the sake of propping up others. Shouldn't be like that. But all in all, from a geek perspective, it's okay. I give it a solid B. I do like how they capped it off. However, the future looks sort of grim. Looks like we are about to get Sam Wilson, Captain America, which did happen in the comics and recently, but I think he's better as Falcon. There's nothing given away in terms of the plot for like the next phase, really, which may actually be a good thing, as they can maybe think some of this stuff through. Me personally, I think the timing was off, and I think this could have been better handled if they saved Captain Marvel for after Thanos' death, Carol Danvers that is, and into the next phase. Instead, they should have used the movie before Endgame as a Thanos origin film. This would have allowed them to introduce more classic characters that were like important to Thanos' history. I understand the Fox merger being complicated and things like, you know, sort of Silver Surfer and that whole situation. Maybe they couldn't bring him in. He probably was off limits, but it's still inexcusable why they couldn't use Adam Warlock or the others, especially considering the former was at least alluded to existing at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of people are still anticipating his appearance, but the hype is really gone considering that Thanos is already gone. Hell, unless they were to bring him back, there's really no point of him existing anymore. Unless they're doing a reiteration of this new Infinity thing. What they should have did was use that Thanos origin film and somehow brought in Marvel, who was the first ever to defeat Thanos in the Cosmic Cube arc. Hell, they could have even killed him off with cancer just like the comics. But they for sure should have brought in Adam Warlock. This would have allowed them to include Adam's Infinity Watch in the next phase. And with that origin film, the other characters could have been acknowledged and brought in. Eros, Mentor, Kronos, Moon Dragon, but for sure Adam Warlock could have maybe had some connection to like the Soul Gem, which could have helped them defeat Thanos. Instead, for whatever reason, we got Captain Marvel, and she was shoehorned into the universe, and her film was used to really crap on the legacy of both Marvel and Monica Rambeau. Though her appearance didn't completely ruin the film, her existence was still forced, and her placement was a missed opportunity. I'm interested to see what happens with some of the characters, considering that we now have Disney Plus. Vision is still dead, so I'm guessing that their show will deal with some of like adventures of the past, or maybe not. Let's see. Possibilities are endless. I'll have another video going in depth with this. Have some other things I want to mention, but I'm saving that for those videos. But that's going to do it for this review. Let me know what you think in the comments, and Captain Marvel bots who are going to call me out my name, all sorts of names, and tell me that they're tired of hearing me talk about Captain Marvel. Please be sure to press play again so I can monetize your ass. Thanks.